we have got Puff Daddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. Sean Combs. I think I'm just going to call him Diddy on the show because it's only one word and it's easier. And, Buck, you and I were talking about this off air. This went mega viral. Everybody almost on the planet saw the 2016 hotel video of Diddy running out with I think he was still in a towel and beating up his girlfriend, Cassie. So background, if you haven't been following this case, she filed a explosive civil lawsuit seeking monetary damages for what she claimed was outrageous behavior perpetrated against her by Diddy in a multi-year consensual relationship. I believe they were boyfriend and girlfriend for a decade. Producer Ali, I believe you have been following this case somewhat closely too. So if I get any of these facts wrong or you want to step in and say, actually, Clay, I'm trying to set the table for people who might not have been following this. It is a criminal trial. Diddy had been housed with Sam Bankman-Fried, among others, that is celebrities that were being held in this New York City cell as they awaited trial. And so the case has gone to trial. Diddy faces potentially the rest of his life in prison for sexual racketeering, basically crossing state lines, prostitution allegations, all of these things. And I'm going to be honest with you, Buck. I have been reading everything that Cassie is testifying to. And based on what I have seen, and by the way, 800-282-2882, if any of you are following this and want to weigh in as well, I don't think that this is criminal behavior beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well,
that's my take.
And you and I have talked about it. I don't think you mind me sharing. It's grotesque, reprehensible, and demonic behavior. But it may not.
Not a good dude.
He's a very bad person.
Yes.
He's a very bad person. I know, judge not lest you be judged. Yeah, this guy's a very bad person. But the criminal counts that they're going after him on, I tend to agree with Clay. I am not sure that they are likely to get beyond a reasonable doubt on them. And that's not to say that he isn't horrible. But, for example, beating a woman, it's assault, it's disgraceful. Is that past the statute of limit? I'm talking about just the simple assault that we saw on. That's what they call it. Not like it's
that
not
has
a big deal,
passed
but
that I believe in L.A. had passed the statute of limitations.
Yeah, and so is that so? Then the violence counts that you could bring under other circumstances are past the statute of limitations. So this is why they've gone for this RICO, operating a criminal conspiracy across state lines, prostitution thing. And the problem becomes very quickly, I think, for the prosecution here. This is, are these people who were being given lavish gifts and, rides on private jets, but not in a quid pro quo for sexual services situation? And then also, was there any actual coercion? Like, can you prove coercion? I don't want to not be invited to the next party, for example, would not be coercion, or I don't want to upset somebody who's very powerful in my industry. I don't think that's criminal coercion. Do this or I'm going to hit you or hurt you is coercion, right? So these are I read up on this a little bit this morning. I tend to not. I'm not a what's the thing that everyone is true crime. I'm not a big true crime guy in general, but I would say this, Clay. To the degree that this is of interest to our audience at all, and we'll talk to Paul Morrow, who is a true crime guy because he worked as a deputy inspector, which is just a couple of rungs below commissioner for the NYPD. This is why this is so big. Puff Daddy or Sean Combs, formerly Puff Daddy, then P. Diddy, maybe the biggest star in the hip-hop world for about a decade, I would say. And perhaps when hip-hop music was at its actual cultural peak, you could make, this is an argument, but I grew up in a New York City. Oddly enough, I grew up next door to P. Diddy for a number of years. He lived, and I mean next door, like I used to see him on the street when I was a high school kid all the time. I would see his entourage. I saw his baby blue Bentley convertible, which was a very rare car then, parked out front. Some of the biggest security guys you have ever seen in your life standing around all the time. So, I was very aware of Sean Combs at the time. Clay, this guy was an absolute celebrated, cultural phenomenon for years by all the elites. I mean, I can't even begin. If you're looking for photos of, I'm sure there's photos of them with the Clintons, and I'm sure there's photos of them with Anna Wintour of Vogue, and this guy was the absolute pinnacle of music, culture, and entrepreneurial success for a number of years. But people knew about some of this stuff. People knew that there was very bad stuff going on in the background.
It's not dissimilar in some ways from Harvey Weinstein, right? Like
right.
Everybody in Hollywood was like, well, how could we have known?
Depending on these allegations being true or not, or someone like an R. Kelly, where there was also a tremendous amount of smoke and fire, as we found out in that case. In this case, well, this is where you get into the parsing, right? There's horrible behavior. There's grotesque behavior, which Sean Combs is absolutely. By the way, this guy should like be completely expelled from public life, no matter what happens in this trial. What he did is the abuse of women and the grotesque behavior, and that is a matter of public record that he does not dispute. He just disputes that these things violated the law, things that we really can't talk to you about on radio. Like it would get into that. It's inappropriate, and also you don't really need to hear it. But it's about as grotesque as you can imagine, sexual stuff. More grotesque, I think, than a lot of you can imagine. But I just think it's another moment here, Clay, where how many of these like cultural icons, so to in quotes, right? But I mean, he was for a while, are able to get away with horrific. I mean, you look at the stuff against Cosby, you look at R. Kelly, you look at Harvey Weinstein. I mean, and I'm not leaving out anyone on purpose, right? I mean, the allegations against Michael Jackson, whether one believes them or not, is a whole other thing. These are some of the biggest people in our culture, and people around them knew that weird or deeply criminal stuff was going on, and no one comes forward? No one says anything for years, for decades? What does that say?
Well, the only reason this is public now is because Cassie filed the lawsuit. So if I were analyzing this from a legal perspective, I have no idea why he didn't settle the lawsuit as he had an opportunity to do before it went public, because the minute that it went public, I think he settled for 8 figures, $10 million or more, within a day of the lawsuit being public. So what did his legal team not see here? Because essentially the charges that are brought against him entirely come out of the civil complaint that she filed. But here's my thing. And look, there's a jury of 12 that's going to decide, 8 men, 4 women. Based on the opening of the prosecution's case, I don't think they have proven that he committed a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, my big takeaway, if I were sitting on the jury, is this. She dated him for a decade. I'm not saying, again, to your point, that he didn't engage in a lot of bad behavior. Bad behavior is not necessarily criminal. And if you were dating someone for a decade, it's hard for me to argue that you were coerced into behavior for a full decade. You could have left, right?
I know you agree with this. I do think it's necessary to just, bad behavior is like, stepping out on your wife or something. Okay, like that's bad behavior. This guy was engaged systematically for years and years in demonic. I don't think anybody should listen to his music ever again or be seen with him in public ever again. Behavior. And that's not even the criminal stuff. I just mean the stuff that he's admitted to. Okay.
And remember, he said publicly that he couldn't vote for Trump because of allegations about Trump's behavior, which is just hysterical on so many levels, because even the worst things that have been said about Trump are a pinprick of what has been alleged in this trial that he was involved in, right? So there's a lot of this Hollywood finger wagging related to Trump that has been do as I say, not as I myself have done. Having said all of that, I don't understand what the actual crime here is beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty of, based on the first 2 days.
The trial is underway, and we'll talk to Paul Morrow about that. I will tell you that, Clay, it has been known for a long time. And again, I think as a New Yorker at the time who lived next door to him, I was particularly aware of the reporting on this. There was a whole incident with gunfire at a nightclub, and it was alleged that it was his gun, and he tried to pay off a guy in the entourage.
Oh,
There are widely believed and known stories of him violently assaulting and threatening other music producers and record executives, and in their offices. I think he beat a guy with a wine bottle, and he had to go to the hospital. I mean, he got away with this stuff for a long time. Yes, it's because he was powerful, but also I think that prosecutors didn't want to bring down an icon. I don't think that they wanted to go after somebody who was,
he was found
a self-made billionaire from the black community who was being held up as an incredibly important and powerful cultural figure. I think he got a pass for a long time on a lot of criminal stuff. I mean, just look at the hotel camera stuff that didn't come out until now.
Well, he was found not guilty on the shooting charges. And the guy who he was with went to prison for years and basically said, hey,
he took the rap,
fall.
Clay. That the whole point was that he got paid.
Yeah.
The whole story was that he got paid off to do that.
But this story, I don't think is going to go away. We'll talk about it at the bottom of the hour as it is currently underway. And if there were cameras, this would be like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard story that is just.
Lawyer Clay is very honed in on, and we'll talk to Paul Morrow about this as well from the investigator and law enforcement standpoint in a few minutes. Lawyer Clay is very honed in on the legality or illegality of the situation, which makes perfect sense. It's funny. I just can't get beyond. I mean, we as a country should be ashamed that we hold people like this up ever. Honestly, there should really be some soul search. And for a lot of you, you're like, oh, I don't listen to. If you grew up in from 1994 until I want to say the year 2000, Sean P. Diddy Combs, you're hearing this song, you're hearing his music everywhere. He's at the the MTV Music Awards. He's at the VH, all the different. What do you call the Grammys? I mean, he's at all these things. He's held up. He is the toast of the town. And the guy's a horrible human being. I mean, really. And people knew about it, and they just didn't say anything.
A billionaire. He's a billionaire now. Not just, somewhat successful, legitimately a billionaire.
Yeah. All right, look, I want to talk about something else that can really help you. It's amazing. I'm coming up on 15 years in the media business after leaving the CIA. And it's funny because I'm a long-time gold holder, somebody who has had gold. I've been a believer in having gold for the long haul for a long time. And I've just purchased some more gold recently. But I want to just walk you through a few things. If you're thinking, you're like, oh, well, Trump's got the economy. Things are okay. Yeah, you're not holding gold for 6 months. The idea is to build gold reserves over time to prepare for uncertainty in the economy down the line, but also look at the value increases of gold. Okay, gold is now more than $3,200 an ounce. That is a huge increase in value. Okay, if you look at what gold has done in recent years, it has been going up and up and up. And it's the best hedge that anyone's thought of against inflation and a weakening dollar, which is still a major challenge, a major problem. Diversifying into gold now is easier than ever. And if you just look, okay, when I first diversified my all-cash savings account and purchased some gold, the price of gold was just over $2,000 an ounce. Today, that same gold is more than $3,200 an ounce, a 60% increase in value. So owning gold makes sense for the long haul. If you look at it, you can find out just by checking out the prices yourself, because we still have that $37 trillion in debt, because the Democrats are going to be in charge again at some point. So take action today. And if you have an old IRA or 401k that you want to see growing in value over time, that you don't have to manage closely, you don't have to worry about, Birch Gold can help you convert that existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. Birch Gold is the best in the business at this. Check out what they can do for you today. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. Receive your free, no obligation info kit on gold. That's texting my name, Buck, to 989898 today.